It's not over till it's over. That's the tone of today's military briefing in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Marine Brigadier General Richard Neal says tomorrow's meeting between Iraq and allied forces is definitely not a negotiating session. And he warns that if any stonewalling on the part of Iraq takes place, there will be no stalling for allied troops.
From a military point of view, we're ready to go on the offense again like that.
Neal also reports 2 more U.S. servicemen died in accidents involving mines or unexploded shells, which brings to 4 the number of Americans killed in accidents since the ceasefire began on Wednesday. And KARE-11 News has learned that a Rochester Army reservist has been injured in Desert Storm cleanup operations. He's identified as Sergeant Tom Lenway, a member of the 79th Military Police Company. Hundreds of people gathered in Greensburg, Pennsylvania today to remember reservists killed in that Scud attack on Saudi Arabia. The 13 members of the Greensburg-based water purification unit, including 2 women, were killed when a Scud hit their barracks in Dhahran on Monday. Altogether now, 28 Americans were killed in that accident, 99 wounded in the attack. Also remembered today at the service was a Marine who died in Tuesday's battle for Kuwait's International Airport.
There's been a lot of talk about putting Iraq's Saddam Hussein on trial for war crimes. But today, a small group of anti-war protesters had another, perhaps less popular idea.
People, step on up here. Tell George Bush what you think of him.
Demonstrators staged a mock trial for President George Bush outside Calhoun Square in Uptown. They invited passers-by to address their feelings about the war and the way the president has handled the crisis. More reflection about the war and its aftermath today at the Hennepin Avenue United Methodist Church. This war was dubbed a just one by the president, but when is a war justifiable in the religious sense? That issue was up for discussion at today's conference.
If we want to claim justice in relation to any war, we need to be to do so with great humility, and I don't see that happening right now.
Dr. Horst says people should question whether war is really the way to achieve a new world order.
And SOCM doesn't see the ending of the war as any reason to stop doing what it does best. So today, members of the group's Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park chapter continued to show their support for the troops with a ribbon fanfare. Yellow ribbons went up all along Brooklyn Boulevard, and they're going to stay up there until every last serviceman comes home. And with our economy in a recession, some experts look at war as a possible antidote.
But it may not be as good as many had hoped. Of course, there's likely to be some short-term boom to the economy now that the war has ended. But as KARE-11's Mary Stuckey reports, there are varying degrees of optimism.
War is not a time when people normally buy a lot of cars or any other big-ticket item, and so car dealers now find themselves loaded with inventory. Along with dipping interest rates, some consumers may finally be in a buying mood.
I want that thing on me.
If they can overcome their concerns about their jobs and their ability to borrow money. Indeed, it's not clear that the war will do away with a state of caution among consumers. But if the average consumer isn't buying, foreign governments may be. One sector expected to rebound is the defense industry, with other countries newly interested in our immensely successful weaponry, and with the world not the peaceful place it seemed after the Cold War, defense industries are expected to get more of the budget pie.
Basically means the neglect of domestic economy, spending money on education, on health, and social welfare.
Nazrin Jewell wrote an opinion piece in today's Star Tribune. She's afraid we'll become an economy of weapons producers, the result being a growing trade deficit and even bigger national debt.
But I think personally it's even, I think, more serious because we have to stay, if not very friendly, at least in touch with the governments that are not very peace-loving, because those are our customers for weapons that we are going to have to sell.
Whether we will become more of the world's weapons producer remains to be seen. But regardless, the end of the war is far from an economic panacea. Underlying problems with the economy remain, especially the budget deficit. Mary Stuckey, KARE-11 News.
If you need information about the events in the Gulf or phone numbers or addresses for support groups, legislators, or the troops, call the KARE-11 Gulf line. Volunteers will be answering your calls until 11 tonight. The lines will reopen tomorrow evening at 5, and the number to call is 542-1111.
A Burnsville Marine has an amazing story out of Kuwait tonight. 23-year-old Corporal David Stingram called his parents Thursday morning after a Special Forces mission in Kuwait City. He told his parents he and 3 fellow Marines entered the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait and secured it and raised the American flag, all before any other Allied forces even arrived in town.
He just said I was one of 4 guys to secure the embassy. He was just flying high. His adrenaline, you could just hear it in his voice. He was so happy. He said the Kuwaitis come running up to me. They said, thank you for coming. You saved our lives. They were crying.
Well, that's only half the story. Maxine Stengram says that her son told her a superior officer ordered the Marines out and the flag taken down. Seems that the U.S. military wanted to give the illusion, anyway, that the Kuwaitis were the first ones back in town.
A Bloomington couple won the more than $9 million in Wednesday night's Lotto America drawing, so there's only $2 million in tonight's jackpot. Tonight's winning numbers were drawn just minutes ago. They are 1, 19, 25, 39, 40, and 50. And tonight's winning daily 3 numbers are 4, 6, and 5.
And just when you thought spring was around the corner, Old Man Winter puts a chill on the forecast, and we'll have the details in a moment.
Later in the Extra, one teenager's recovery from a tragic accident.
In sports, the Gopher hockey team tries to wrap up the playoffs tonight against Michigan Tech.
And before we go, showcasing one man's many talents.
Froze plain vegetables.
Anyone can freeze them in a block, Sprout. The Green Giant knows better. He freezes his plain Harvest Fresh vegetables in a vacuum-sealed pouch to preserve their natural flavor. That's why they taste so fresh. Harvest Fresh vegetables are the only plain vegetables frozen in a vacuum-sealed pouch.
I feel like such a blockhead.
Ho, ho, ho. Green Giant.
Audi lets you take control with permanent all-wheel Quattro drive. A system so sophisticated, it can send power from wheel to wheel, depending on road conditions. A system so unique, it constantly monitors the road and transfers power instantly. From the wheels that slip to those that grip. All-wheel Quattro drive. One more way Audi lets you take control.
Remember your 4 food groups.
Now, class, for proper nutrition, we must all learn to eat from the 4 food groups. Repeat it with me.
The 4 food groups.
Again.
The 4 food groups.
Again.
Introducing Basic 4, that delicious new cereal that with milk gives you the basic goodness from the 4 food groups, like you never tasted them before. New Basic 4 cereal.
We have seen the future.
And it tastes great.
Can't. Hey there, little guy. Are you awake? Oh, yeah. Ooh, look what Daddy brought. Want to hold the bat? Ooh, good grip. Here it comes, Kent. Ready?
The Minnesota Twins. A 30-year family tradition.
Fire crews from Eden Prairie and Bloomington are still at the scene of a house fire in Eden Prairie. Neighbors reported the blaze on Spoon Ridge about 6 this evening. Crews say they don't know how long the fire had been burning before it was spotted. No one was in the home at the time. The house is being considered a total loss.
In Earth Care tonight, Governor Carlson made a campaign pledge to seek a moratorium on incinerators, and today, about 50 people reminded him of that.
2, 4, 6, 8, recycle, don't incinerate.
They're opposed to a future incinerator in Dakota County and gathered in front of the governor's mansion as a reminder. Later, 5 representatives were invited inside where they were read a statement from the governor by an official with the Pollution Control Agency.
I've issued a moratorium on incineration, but a preliminary Attorney General's opinion states that such a unilateral action is invalid. I'm awaiting further response from the Attorney General's office.
Now, the fate of the Dakota County incinerator is in the hands right now of the PCA, which is deciding whether to give it a go-ahead. Protesters want to see other alternatives, such as recycling and waste reduction, instead of incineration.
Across town, another protest of sorts, one that now has a 1-year history. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of the strike against Greyhound. Striking drivers marched outside Greyhound depots in Minneapolis and around the country in an effort to keep up public awareness. Currently, the labor dispute is before the courts. Greyhound is contesting a federal agency's finding that it provoked the strike and locked out its workers. The state's budget crunch could mean cuts for several social programs, but St. Paul officials want to prove the value of one of theirs. State lawmakers were invited to tour the Southeast Asian Access Project today. The program serves about 500 members of St. Paul's Hmong community every week, teaching English and job-seeking skills.
It's really a laboratory in some cases for English and mainstream service providers to get some experience and some skills working with Southeast Asians, and for recognizing that they really aren't all that different from the rest of us in their interests and their concerns.
Now, the program was meant to be a one-year pilot, but St. Paul officials would like to see it extended because of its unprecedented success in reaching a large number of people.
In drought-plagued California, residents are cleaning up after the heaviest rainstorms in years. In Malibu, the rains caused a house to slide down an embankment and into the Pacific Ocean. That happened yesterday. The disaster comes at the end of a 3-day period of heavy rains in that state. Damage from the rains is estimated into as much as $1 million, and the drought damage was millions of dollars, so they can't win for losing there.
No, now they're in a dry period again.
And the rain really actually out there doesn't mean much unless it continues for a while.
It runs off, exactly.
Yeah.
How's your,
Ken Barlow filling in, by the way.
How was your back? I've been meaning to ask you.
Good.
About all the
From
shoveling.
Yeah.
Don't tell me.
What a dud that was. Boy, it fooled all of us. The storm that wasn't continues to move out into Michigan and up into Canada, and leaving in its wake a lot of cold air, and that's what we have with us now. But this time of year, the sun's stronger and things are moving quickly, so warmer temperatures on the way already tomorrow. Let's take a look at what happened earlier today. 27 degrees, the high temperature. The low, in fact, that was at midnight last night. The low, 10 degrees, and we're just about there now. A trace of snowfall. It hurts to say it. Partly cloudy sky, 11 degrees right now. We're not going to go down too much more, perhaps 3 or 4 degrees tonight. The winds are still rather stiff out of the north at 15 miles per hour, and the wind chill is quite low. 41% humidity, barometer rising, 30.09. We'll look at temperatures, and you can see the warm spot, as is the case many times around Madison and Wisconsin. 23 degrees there. War Road, nothing unusual there. The cold spot, 8 below, really not too bad, though. Again, this time of year, we don't get those Arctic blasts like we had in January. If this were January, don't you hate it when weathermen do this, but if it were January, it would be 25 to 30 degrees below zero overnight tonight, but not the case tonight. A relatively cold air mass will slip out to the east, and already a warming trend coming in from the west. We can see on the map that area of high pressure building down from central Canada. Now, we missed a storm, but folks across the southeast are not. Tornado watches posted for portions of Florida, the Panhandle, also into Georgia and Mississippi and Alabama, and also a severe thunderstorm watch, unusually enough, in western New York State. That whole mess continues to slide to the east. We're watching something to the west. Now, in the satellite picture, it's moving into the west coast as we speak. It's a rather large storm system. There's one more in this series, and then California dries out, but not us. We have the dreaded split flow developing. It looks like we'll have the storms mostly going to our south and the cool air trapped over us after a brief warm-up during the day tomorrow and again during the day on Monday. We will continue to watch the southeast as we continue to see more spring-like activity with some heavy thunderstorms. For us, it looks like some spring-like weather on the way, perhaps close to 50 on Monday. Not out of the question. The details right after this.
Always exciting, always something new.
It's about that time when you need to get away,
Always an adventure, always something to do.
where you can get the most fun. It's easy to get to.
Always entertaining.
And time's what they are. You want the best value on a vacation. You must have been thinking Las Vegas.
Always on the money. Las Vegas, always on the money.
The Year of the Uniform will make you feel like a North Star. Be one of the first 3,000 fans, 16 and under, to attend 4 special North Star games and get replica or collectible North Stars gear free. Get a piece of the action with the North Stars Year of the Uniform. Saturday afternoon, March 9th, collect these cool moonwear pants free and see the Stars clip the Detroit Red Wing. Game time is 1:30. Get tickets at Met Center, Ticketmaster, or charge by phone at 989-5151.
For all the places and all the faces that are a part of you, AT&T brings you the Reach Out America plan. With more ways to save than anyone else. No matter who or when or where you call. So long distance feels like no distance. For savings and quality across every mile, we'll help you find the plan that works for you. AT&T. all you need to reach out.
What's going on here?
We're making fresh pasta that's cholesterol-free.
Cholesterol-free fresh pasta? Terrific.
Yeah, it's from DiGiorno Fresh.
Terrific. But how does it taste?
Try it yourself.
Just like I thought. It still tastes as good as ours.
Better if you ask me.
And who asks you?
New DiGiorno Fresh cholesterol-free pastas. Still the restaurant taste in the refrigerated case.
Okay, we have a warming trend again, quickly on the heels of this short Arctic air mass that has worked its way in. We will see temperatures rebounding into the 30s tomorrow after a very cold night tonight. Let's look at the details. Some high clouds out there overnight tonight, but that's about it. Otherwise, it will be mostly clear, and temperatures will drop back initially to 0 to 10 above, and then start to rise toward morning. A beautiful Sunday coming up, especially compared to today. High temperature this afternoon was only 17. That 27 we talked about occurred, as I mentioned, at midnight last night. Partial sunshine, 30s, though, tomorrow. A lot of melting going on. And Monday, some rain showers in the afternoon. Look at this, 46 degrees. And then on Tuesday, a wet snow or wet snow mixed with rain. It'll be very warm, but messy, I think, on Tuesday. And 38 degrees. I hope it works this time. And Wednesday, a mixture of clouds and sunshine. It's slightly cooler, so very typical March weather coming up. Everything is moving along, and the cold's not really too cold. It'll get warmer tomorrow.
It was bad. It was bitter out there today.
Yeah, the wind was up, but the wind will be down tonight.
Okay. Thanks, Ken.
You're welcome.
The North Stars are trying to extend their unbeaten streak tonight in Calgary, and Randy Shaver is going to have the highlights later in sports.
Next in the Extra, a junior high student wrestles with a medical miracle.
Friday after 4 during Lent, our filet-o-fish sandwich is only 79 cents.
All of us dream about coming into a large sum of money, and the truth is that many of us probably will. Lump sum distribution has become a common way for employers to pay out benefits. I'm Linda Brooke. First Banks and KARE-TV know your money matters, and we'd like to help you understand your options.
First Banks and KARE-TV introduce a guide to pension and profit-sharing distributions. It details investments and much more to help make your money work better for you. Yours free at any First Bank location.
Like to get into a bigger car without getting in over your head? The Hyundai Sonata 3-liter V6 has more power and more interior room than a Taurus. It's got an automatic transmission and stereo. Plus, right now, get air conditioning at no extra charge. And factory cash back means it's only $11,745. So now, moving up to a big car is a smart move. Climb into a mid-size Sonata V6 while they last at your nearest Hyundai dealer today.
Red Baron.
Bring the Baron home tonight. Red Baron Pizza microwave singles.
This weekend's state wrestling tournament made us remember a story that we started 6 years ago.
It's about a youngster who lives in a wrestling town who's wrestling himself because of a medical miracle. Tonight in the Extra, Ken Speak revisits Derek Geyser. But we want to warn you, there is graphic video within the report.
How many butterflies we got?
In a wrestling town where youngsters start wrestling in kindergarten, stretching is anticipated as the prelude to a good time.
1:30 will be B squad. I'm assuming the varsity will start about 2:30.
Yep, to these folks, wrestling is neat, a chance to prove who's best in a one-on-one contest. But first, the wrestlers must live through the butterflies.
Hit, roll, hit, roll, hit, roll.
The butterflies, jogging, push-ups, crunches, sprints, all those wonderful conditioning exercises.
Kick it hard, guys. Gotta make it hurt. Gotta make it hurt here.
Among these high school wrestlers are 4 from New York Mill's junior high. kids who wanted to continue working out when their season ended. Among those is Derek Geyser doing the push-ups there. You notice Derek's arm, the scarring at his elbow? Derek is using that arm despite the fact that 6 years ago it was torn off. Derek was 8 years old. He'd been playing near a forage wagon like this one when he'd gotten tangled in it. He arrived in the Twin Cities with his arm packed in ice in a box. Doctors at North Memorial Medical Center worked through the night to reattach the arm, connecting the bone using a microscope to attach arteries and veins and nerves in a heroic effort to restore a youngster's use of his right arm.
If it were an older man or something, then perhaps we would be less vigorous, but since it's really only an 8-year-old child, we feel fairly strong about trying to save the arm.
Dr. Alan Van Beek expected an 85 or 90% chance of success, saying Derek's arm wouldn't be as good as it was before the accident, but it would be better than any artificial arm he might have to use. Indeed, even in practice, Derek's wrestling opponents find it surprising to think anything ever happened to his right arm. His coach says he figures Derek has about 75% use of his right arm, but he compensates so well with the whole rest of his body that the signs of the surgery come as a surprise. Supper time is important to a growing boy, and when he's one of triplets, well, that's one of the few times folks would notice any difference between them.
Matt, salt and pepper, please.
As one of triplets, Derek used to be right-handed like Kenny and Matt. Now he's left-handed. That is one of the few outward signs of change the experience has brought Derek's family. Perhaps that's because of a belief Derek's mom, Donna, has developed.
Regardless of what kind of things happen in your life, you need to be able to look beyond it and need to go on with things and not to dwell on the bad things that are happening, but what positive things can come out of it.
It's that kind of philosophy that gets a person through some of life's trials. It's that kind of belief that turns what some would call a handicap into a strength. Ken Speak, KARE-11 News, New York Mills.
Gosh, it's great to catch up on him to see how well he's doing these days. Amazing story. Within a year after Derek's arm was reattached, he broke it. He had to have a metal plate inserted.
Yeah, still, he was playing football with his brothers Kenny and Matt on the first anniversary of the accident.
Check out Gourmet du Jour at Bonanza. Not your standard shrimp, no siree, Bob. You see, these golden beauties are all-you-can-eat shrimp. A crafty crustacean rarely seen outside the Amazon River.
Bonanza's all-you-can-eat shrimp dinner is back. Mountains of crispy shrimp in our Fresh-Tastics food bar, all only $5.99.
Some might fear to appear gluttonous by ordering seconds. I avoid temptation. Go straight to thirds.
Bonanza, where the extras don't cost extra.
Nissan started a few years ago with cold-rolled steel and a hot idea to build the best. First came the twin-turbo Z, and it was judged the best. Then the Maxima, it was called the best as well. Now come the new Nissan Sentras, and they're called the best. In fact, in the last 2 years, Nissan's new lineup has won more major awards than anyone, 17 in all. We started out making cars, we ended up making history. See the full line of award-winning Nissans at your Greater Twin Cities Nissan dealer now.
Don't worry about those winning numbers in the lottery. I had them tonight.
Okay, that's why we didn't say that. It looks like the Gophers are in the business of providing a little excitement the last couple of days.
They haven't lost a first-round series in the WCHA since like the late 70s, so this is really no surprise, but Michigan Tech gave them all they could handle tonight. Yeah. Gopher hockey team finished a 2-game sweep of Michigan Tech tonight, 6-5. Gophers win that game, and next up now, the WCHA Final Four in St. Paul next Sunday and Monday. Highlights tonight for Mariucci. The Gophers trailed 3-2 second period, then they scored 4 times. Scott Bell scores in the nice play here to tie it at 3. Moments later, Craig Johnson scores on a fantastic deflection off Tom Peterson's pass, and the Gophers take a 4-3 lead. Later in the second, Chris McAlpine snapped a shot past a screen Jamie Ram, giving the Gophers a 6-3 lead. Ram went nuts. He stormed the officials. Then on his way back to the net, he pushed McAlpine. Ram got a misconduct for his troubles. The Huskies mounted a comeback, but the Gophers held on to win. We checked the final score again from Mariucci. And the final was 6-5 Gophers as we go to the scoreboard. 6-5, they win 2-0. And let's show you those scores if we can. Northern Michigan 6-3 over Colorado College. There we go. Northern Michigan wins that series 2-0. North Dakota 10-2 over St. Cloud State. That series tied 1-1. And Wisconsin leads their series with UMD. The North Stars continued their Alberta road trip tonight with a game in Calgary, but their unbeaten streak came to a screeching halt as the Flames burned the Stars. The Stars looked pretty good early. Ulf Dahlin scored his 15th just 2 minutes into the game on the power play. 1-0 Stars, but that just seemed to inspire Calgary. Joel Otto out of Elk River tied the game at 1-1 on the two-man power play. The hero had to be Theron Fleury, scored a pair of goals, made several bids for the hat trick. This goal put Calgary ahead to stay. Final tonight was 5-1. Calgary wins. The North Stars host Edmonton on Wednesday night. Timberwolves were in action at the Target Center tonight on this extremely busy Saturday. They began their four-game homestand on a sour note. They lost to the Clippers 104-102. The Clippers looked great early. They led this game by 7 at the half. Olden Polynice with the basket here. He's the guy that replaced Benoit Benjamin in that trade made last month. You remember that. Sam Mitchell, a 1-point lead with a fall-away jumper. Ty Corbin with 8 seconds to go. What an incredible shot. Ties it at 102. He had 32, over 3 seconds to go. Look at this shot by Harper to win the game. That's how the Wolves lost tonight. Ron Harper had 26. The final was 104-102. The Lakers are in town Tuesday night. Big Ten action this afternoon. The Wisconsin Badgers looking for a possible postseason bid, but those hopes suffered a crucial blow when they lost to Indiana this afternoon. The Badgers led by 3 at the half thanks to the long-range shooting by Tim Locum. It's good for 3 here. Coach Bobby Knight, not exactly thrilled with that. Hoosiers staged a rally in the second half. Greg Graham goes in for the easy jam. Calbert Cheney led Indiana with 30. And we check the final score, 74-61. Other scores in the Big Ten, the Illini by 10 over Northwestern, and Iowa loses at home tonight, 70-65. Believe me, it's probably the busiest prep sports day of the entire year. State championships decided in wrestling, boys swimming, girls gymnastics, plus girls basketball playoffs, and section hockey finals. In hockey today at the Met Center, Richfield beat Edina 4-2. Hornet goalie Jenny Hanley played well, but the Spartans were too much. Brad Wilner scored the game winner for Richfield. Brandon Stiege added a hat trick in Richfield's 4-2 win over Edina. The last game for Willard Eichel, the head coach. We'll hear from him tonight at 11:05. At the Civic Center, it's Carl Jones, the pin in the team finals, as Apple Valley beats Simley 31-22. Jones, obviously the heavyweight for Apple Valley, seals the win, and the Eagles win the state championship. That's just a taste of what we'll have tonight at 11:05. Plenty more from wrestling, gymnastics, swimming, hockey, basketball. That's at 11:05 following cheers on our Prep Sports Extra. To golf and the Women's Kemper Open, Deb Richard birdied the second hole of sudden death, taking the title from Cindy Rarick. Richard took home $75,000 for first place on the PGA Tour. Watch this shot by Russ Cochran on the par 5 12th hole. Great bump and run. It goes in for an eagle 3. Cochran trails Andy Bean by 1 shot with the final round set for tomorrow. Let's check out all the NBA scores for you tonight. I know you're dying to see these. Here they are. Indiana beat Chicago 135-114. New York over New Jersey by 10. Miami wins at Dallas. Denver is leading Orlando. They're at the half in Seattle. And Golden State is leading Charlotte in the second quarter. I know you want to see the NHL scores even worse, so here they are. St. Louis, 4-4 final in overtime. Brett Hull scored his 70th tonight. Rangers over Toronto. Buffalo beat Boston. They tied at Quebec. Washington a winner. Montreal over Edmonton. And there will be a quiz later on tonight.
If you have time, could we run through those NBA, NHL
Well,
scores?
sure. Here, why don't you just take them home with you? I think that'd be the easiest way. And then just examine them and tell me them tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, Rand. It's an odd combination of talents, but for one local man, they build character.
Coming up next, a profile of a man and his big dreams for the future.
It's time for the 7th annual Goofy Games at Walt Disney World. Hi, I'm Corbin Seitz, and we'd like to invite you to be a part of our team, along with Joe Sensor, Matt Blair, at the Goofy Games, March 16th through the 20th.
And you'll fly Delta Airlines round trip and stay at Disney's new yacht and beach club resort.
Just send a postcard with your name, address, and phone number to Goofy Games in care of Between Friends, Box 111, Minneapolis 55440.
And watch Between Friends for more details.
Don't worry, call the CarX man.
My dad taught me everything I know about cars. He only got one thing wrong. He never told me to bring my car to CarX for brakes.
Yeah, I always went some other place.
These guys are real pros. I get quality parts and a lifetime guarantee on my shoes and pads.
Well, I always went some other place.
Dad, do you think you get expert work like this for so little at some other place?
What other place?
Rattle, rattle, thunder, clatter, boom, boom, boom. Don't worry, call the CarX man.
Static can make you lose your appetite.
It'll stop you.
Static can make you stick out in a crowd.
It'll stop you.
And static can be an embarrassing handicap.
It'll stop you.
The more you move, the more static can build up. But you can stop static cling by using Bounce. Bounce leaves clothes virtually static-free.
It won't stop you.
Bounce stops static before static stops you.
And finally tonight, bodybuilding and music. You wouldn't seem to think that one would have anything to do with the other, but as Black History Month ends, Amy Powell introduces us to Gary Hines, a man who's found harmony in his life through those two disciplines.
It's a spiritual release, it's a physical release, it's an emotional release, and it feels fantastic.
Working out and bodybuilding is one of the great passions of Gary Hines' life. Simply being good at what he does isn't enough for this deeply spiritual man. He's always pushing for perfection. As a bodybuilder, he's a former Mr. Minnesota and has a room full of trophies won in other competitions. Gary's other passion is music.
Iron and Ivory, the two women in my life.
He's a pianist, composer, songwriter, producer, and choir director. Gary's hectic schedule includes rehearsals with 2 church choirs, a college choir, and the group he calls his pride and joy, the critically praised Sounds of Blackness. Gary has directed the Sounds for 20 years.
I'm proud to say that our goals at the time are still our current goals, and that is to embrace and perform the entire spectrum of African American music.
And Gary's fondest dreams for the group are coming true. He has been hired as a producer by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis of Flight Time, and the Sounds of Blackness will release its first album in May. Gary has been praised for his discipline and dedication, but to him, it's all a labor of love.
Love the music, love the workouts, love to sweat. The workout makes you sweat, the music makes you sweat. And from that exertion comes the exhilaration.
Amy Powell, KARE 11 News.
And just think, if he's unhappy with what he does, he can toss the piano right out the window. Gary says that he hopes to compose film scores someday.
And that'll do it for us. Thanks for joining us.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
When you can't get home by 5, you can still catch KARE 11 News from your 24-hour news station on WMIN 1030 on your AM dial.
Bye, Mom. Hi, Grandpa. Wish me luck on my test.
She's nervous. Oh, I wish I could take that test for her.
Well, you've done all you can. When she's out that door, she's on her own.
I know she had a good night's sleep.
And hot Quaker oatmeal. It's got more steam than cold cereal. I promise you this. She won't run down halfway through that test. You feel better?
Yeah. Thanks, Dad.
Instant Quaker oatmeal. It's the right thing to do.
about recycling programs in your neighborhood, call The Connection at 922-9000.
Cheers is filmed